My East Sepik mother-in-law. When my East Sepik mother-in-law came down to visit us in Port Moresby, she was left dumbfounded on the couch to find me preparing one of the very delicious meal she confessed she hadn't had in her entire life. She begged to stay for a bit longer with us, but unfortunately, her daughter sent her back to Sepik, saying life in the city is very expensive. She came down when we were experiencing cold weather in the nation's capital, Port Moresby. It started last week, and the whole city was left afridge when the mild winds from Australia blew up and scattered aggressively at Ella Beach. My mother-in-law flew in from Sepik in the cold evening and arrived at Jackson's International Airport during the heavy downpour. It was a surprise visit, and I was never prepared. She phoned me when I was at work and told me that she was coming and already at the airport waiting for me. Without delay, I picked her up from the airport, and we drove home just when the thick fog with dew fell heavily on the driveway leading up to Waigani and Ensasai Valley. My daughter, Farvella, heard the engine of the speeding car and called to her mother to open the gate. Then she stood on the veranda and watched as her mother responded to the gate. It was a great surprise when my wife saw her mother open the car door and stepped outside. She didn't know her mother was coming. It's been 5 years since we got married, and she left home. Her granddaughter didn't recognize her boo-boo either, though they used to communicate on phone. I don't know what she was thinking when she saw a tall, beautiful, dark, light-skinned lady grab her and cried. It was a moment of sorrow when my mother-in-law hugged her beautiful granddaughter and buried her in her arms and cried openly. My wife joined them, but I stood my grounds firmly. Real men don't cry even though they're hurt inside. While my wife helped her mother to bring all her belongings in a sago bag from the mighty Sepik River into the house, I drove out the gate again, took the back road over the mountain, and went straight to Tango's supermarket at Tokarara. Without a second thought, I used up all the money to buy chicken, meat, sauce, oil, and a bag of rice. Not just the ordinary rice, but the long-grain jasmine, in memory of my ex-girlfriend Jasmine. A young girl who stood at the entrance saw me struggling and helped me to load everything into the car, and I handed her 20 kina in appreciation and drove off. My daughter was sitting with her granny, listening to the old legends and myths from her home village. My wife was busy doing dishes while listening to her mother when I walked in with all the food stuff. My in-law was very excited when she saw me walking in with something in my hand. I handed her a can of pineapple fauna for a refresher as I left everything on the table to prepare dinner. I excused my wife to cook that evening. I told my wife I'm going to cook for us this evening. She agreed and do other odd things in the house, like preparing a room for her mother. I quickly boiled the water in the jug, defrosted the icy meat and chicken in the bowl dish filled with cold water, and peeled the carrots and ginger. Sliced the round onions and circled carrots horizontally and put them aside separately in a dish bowl. Then I poured the hot water into the pot and placed it on the gas stove. Then I put the marinated meat in. I do the same for the chicken. While it was still cooking, I boiled the rice. I prepared the soup differently and put it in a small dish. I was already sweating when the rice starts to boil. When I reached out to grab a water bottle from the fridge, I noticed 7 potatoes under the cupboard. My mind made a silly decision to make chips as well. I hurriedly pulled all of them out, peeled them into the pan, and sliced them into long rectangular pieces, and made a deep fry quickly. My mother-in-law just stared at me in disbelief. She thought I never knew how to cook. My wife was smiling and exchanging fake smiles with her mother as they communicate to her their ugly takbuls, which I couldn't understand. But I'm sure they were talking about me and my cooking skills. When I heard the popping sound of a rice cooker as it switched from cooked to warm, I quickly and carefully put the sliced round onions into the meat and chicken respectively. Then I made 5 minutes of low-heat fried chicken with meat separately. I served everything and put them on the gas stove. You couldn't believe it when I told you that I prepared everything in 55 minutes. My in-law was like, "Oh, your gifted son." Turning to her daughter, she said, "Daughter, you've settled in the right place." My wife decorated the table and invited her mother to a self-serve meal that has been prepared. We let her serve as much as she could, for there will still be plenty left over. I could see the unending smiles radiating from my Tambo's face as she lifted the marinated chicken thighs and roasted meat with chips. She was blessed, She kindly excused us not to disturb her as she goes into a moment of enjoyment. Halfway through, and she said, "I knew my daughter would get married to someone who will show me endless kindness. It's not just a dream, but an answered prayer. You're a blessing, son. I'll keep you in my heart till I close my eyes." She was blessed and satisfied. When she finished everything, I pulled out the new coffee cup from the cupboard and make her a hot organic coffee that my sister brought from Okapa on her way to Pacific Adventist University. She could smell the energetic aroma rising from the cup when I poured the hot water. I jokingly said, "Something sweet comes from the east. Eastern Highlands times East Sepik," as I passed the cup to her. She was very pleased and received it with a warm welcome and elegant smile. I had a good evening with my beautiful Tambu as we tell stories and have fun. She thanked me so many times while her daughter was there. Before we dismissed to our rooms, she turned to Farvella, who was already fast asleep on the couch, and rubbed her cheek and kissed her. "She's really beautiful and adorable," she lamented, after kissing her forehead, just like every granny could do to their grandchildren. She turned to us and said the words that sank deep into the marrow of my conscious mind and heart. "Son, I want more grandchildren." Before I could ever respond, my wife burst into laughter and stood up and walked to the sink to do the dishes. On her way, she said, "Mummy country corrupt, life low, city hard. Price bielo, kaikai go and tap, wampla picanini manap." Then she washed the dishes hurriedly. I turned to my in-law and assured her that her request will be granted. I spent a little time thanking her for raising such a girl who is so kind and so hard to find this day. I compliment her as my wife overheard us from the sink and gave an uncontrollable smile. After doing the dishes, she walked to her room, slammed the door behind us, and went to bed. She noticed how her daughter behaved and said, "I shared a special bond with my beautiful daughter, which is engraved on our hearts. When I saw how you've treated my daughter, you broke my heart. You're the best heaven could ever give to someone such as me." I thanked her for coming and for the time we'd spent. Then I gave her the key to the visitor's room, but she insisted to sleep with her granddaughter, and so I left them and went to my room. One thing I've heard and discovered from my mother-in-law is that they want their daughters to be in a safe home, someone who can take good care of them and love them unconditionally, just like how they love them. She said, "As a mother, it hurts to see our daughters walk back home with a black eye and broken lips. We want them to be safe and be a woman who can provide for the family." I'm so blessed knowing my daughter is safe in this home. Written by Nazonamako. Please like and subscribe to support the channel if you want to see more videos like this.